What's going on, guys? We are back from Texas. We obviously need to go through the Prelude to see why she was acting up while we were down there, but that is going to be for another day. We're still not sure what the issue is just yet. We still need to pull up the last log because we haven't even got a chance to look at the car since we got back. But yeah, that will be for another video, trying to figure the Prelude out. But for right now, we're actually going to be working on the engine that came out of the MR2 because, as you guys remember, we found a crack on the block. It was leaking coolant into the oil, which was really unfortunate, but we have to, you know, get on it. I know you guys want to see this thing back up and running, and I do too. So we went ahead and pulled the motor out, and I've been doing my best to find a new block, and I think I did find a new block. I actually was talking to a subscriber, and I should have a block on the way as of today for the MR2. So I'm hoping that will be here either by the end of this week or early next week. The only thing I'm gonna have to do to that is get it machined for the O-rings, and then we can start slapping everything back together. But before we can even do that, we obviously need to get this thing pulled apart, and that is what we are going to be doing for today. I just want to get everything prepared for when the new block comes. So today we're going to be pulling off the transmission, the intake and exhaust manifold, completely tear the engine all the way down apart. We have to pull the rods and pistons and every single thing out of this thing. So it is going to be a process, but it needs to get done. And we're just gonna go ahead and dive in on that and see what we get for today. Well, we got the motor completely disassembled, got everything laid out over here on the table, And now we just have to wait on our new block to come, and we will be able to start reassembling everything. And obviously once we get the new block in, I'm gonna have to bring it to the machine shop, get it re-honed out to match our pistons. I'm probably gonna order some new rings just to re-ring it so we can make sure our gaps are correct, even though it should technically be the same. But I might go with a slightly bigger piston to wall clearance. On these ones, I went with a 3.5 because that was what the specs on these said, so that's what the machinist went to. But I was talking to Brett and everyone, they're saying I should go probably closer to 4 or 4.5 for big boost and big power, just because of how much stuff can expand under all that heat and load. So that is why I'll probably need some new rings as well, because that gap might change ever so slightly after machining. But we got the block completely tore down, and we did actually find something pretty interesting. So this crack in the block may have actually been a good thing, because if you look right here, when we were pulling the pistons out, here, I can bend this guy out of the way. We pulled the pistons out, and it literally took a chunk of the top edge of the sleeve with it as we slid everything out. There should be no reason the piston can grab onto anything right here. This should be completely smooth, but as we were trying to pull them out, they would kind of get jammed right here, and then we had to force them out, and then it literally bent this copper wire up and broke the edge of the sleeve off. So this is actually a little sliver from one that broke. So this was actually right here all the way along the edge, and then on the back side of this is where the copper O-ring sat. So if you see right here, you can see that little bit of metal right there between the copper O-ring right here. See that? You can see that from this part forward is completely broke off, and that's where this sliver was. And that's really bad, like really, really bad. So there is a good chance this thing would have failed regardless if we had that crack in it or not. I'm thinking what happened is, for one, this is machined way too close to the edge there, so there's not really much material to support the copper O-ring, because this copper O-ring went in there pretty tight. We had to hammer it in there to get it to snug down, and when we tighten the head down, that's going to crush this copper O-ring really tight into that groove. And I think what happened is, after we torqued the head down, is it shoved it in there so tight that it ever so slightly kind of squeezed that top edge of the cylinder in. So when we were trying to pull the pistons out, since it was kind of squeezed in, that's why they didn't want to come out. And that's what made it just kind of all rip out together. So, I mean, all it would have taken was a full heat cycle, or, you know, just some big boosts, you know, something to put all this under stress. And if this were to break off inside the cylinder.
Well, we saw there was a piece of, we thought it was hair, remember?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Oh,
piece?
yeah,
we
yeah,
thought it
yeah.
was a piece of hair.
Yep. I thought there was a chunk. I thought someone's hair was in here, because we pulled the head off, and there's this little line on the piston. It almost looked like a tiny crack, but I knew it wasn't. I was like, what's this? And at first I thought it was a hair, and then I was like, how the hell is a hair in there? And then after this happened, we realized there's tiny little slimmers of metal everywhere that they're so fine, they literally look like hair, and that was falling into the cylinders. So that is not good at all. So honestly, I'm kind of glad it had the leak, because this would have been a much more serious problem. At this point, this block is completely garbage. It's done. I have no intention of trying to fix it or reuse it. We'd have to re-sleeve the whole thing to even, it's just not even worth dealing with. So yeah, we have a new block on the way. Luckily, this happened for a good reason, I guess, because we had some other issues. And then even after startup, right here on the CSS, whoever did this, once again, not the actual company CSS, this was freshly decked. We checked it before we put it together, but it seems either the CSS that went around this either came up, or the sleeves kind of just like sunk. I don't think they can sink down because it's stock sleeves. So yeah. I think the CSS actually, pulled up a little bit, because now there's a little lip right there that I can catch a nail on, which is not good either. So yeah, this block definitely had some issues. So
it wouldn't have made it on the it would have got on the dyno, and then it would have blew up.
Yeah, it probably would have. Yeah, no,
this is everything. So this is good that it happened.
Yeah, no, really good that we had to do this, honestly, because this would have probably led to way more damage. Had to, you know, completely get a whole new motor. It would have trashed our head, which is a really nice 4-piston head. We do not want to hurt this if we, you know, can help it, because that's probably one of the more expensive parts on this whole build. But yeah, that's all apart. So like I said, we just got to wait on the new block to come in, and we'll be ready to reassemble that. I'm probably going to do new bearings as well. These actually look like they're in really good shape. You know, the water being inside the motor didn't hurt anything too bad. It seems like there's still plenty of assembly lube everywhere, because, you know, we only let this thing run for maybe a total of 3 or 4 minutes. And yeah, so I'm not too worried about that, but we are going to go ahead and replace the bearings, new head gasket, and, you know, throw it all back together. She should be ready to go. And then we also have our L19 studs in a little bag over here with oil in it, because I guess that's what Brent said to, you know, store them. I guess they got to stay lubricated. Don't want to let them dry out.
Yeah, don't dry them out. You can't get water on them. You can't touch them with your hand. Bare hands,
Yeah,
nothing
we don't
like
need
that.
those head studs snapping.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we're at on the MR2. We also pulled the Grinch in because Roman's taking a look at the shift linkages and like tranny stuff. Cause what you thinking?
Yeah. So the last pass that we did there, we turned it up to like 15 pounds of boost. It left great, 159 60 footed. Got into second, like eased it in a second because that was always the issue before. Got into second, fine, and then I go to stab third and nothing there at all. And then I get down the track and I notice inside the cable, the shifter cable itself, like pulled itself apart. So I think I just had them routed wrong, kind of. Like when it came in on too close of an angle. And then so when it was shifting, it kind of just tore it all apart. And then at the track, we were able to, K-Tune sent me 2 cables. What I did is I just took one of them, I took the ends off the other one and made this one work. But we put it in and it kept getting stuck in different gears. So it just needs another set of cables, unfortunately. And then I'm gonna really take my time and fine tuning them and stuff like that, because there's a whole bunch of adjustment here. I kind of just slapped them on there and then just sent it. So live and learn.
Yep.
Put another set on there and then maybe have you help me, because I'm come from the B series world, so I'm not used to this cable stuff.
Honestly, I just kind of slap them in too, to be honest.
So
but
we'll just fine tune them all and make sure everything's like aligned perfectly, and then it'll be good to go. But
yeah, because right now if he puts the cables on, whatever gear you like put it in, it just like kind of gets stuck. Yeah. It's weird. And then once you take the cables off the selector right here, the training will go into every gear just fine. No issues at all. So we know it's something with the cables like binding up or whatever it may be. So just got to get that figured out, and then just work on getting that dog box, because dude, this freaking turbo's huge, bro.
I know.
This thing has so much potential being all-wheel drive, and that's all it needs. He has an aluminum rod motor now, if you guys didn't know.
Yeah,
because he hurt the other motor. He completely rebuilt one before the event.
Yep.
Aluminum rod motor, like
new head, new everything, because it wrecked the head too. So put new valves in it. Everything's good to go now. So
made 887.
887, letting out at 7,100 RPM. So there's a whole bunch of potential, and that's on a Mustang all-wheel drive dyno. Like those are as legit numbers as you could get.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it was making 30 pounds, and 30 pounds through that turbo is some power.
Yeah, yep. And at 159 on these are my street tires.
Yeah,
so
did a 1.5 60 foot on these freaking Mickey Thompson ETs.
Yep.
So I mean, imagine all 4 slicks, getting it, the chassis just figured out. She definitely has some potential, but like every other car, we're gonna be limited to a tranny. So we're working on it though.
Yeah, once we get that going, I mean,
literally all our cars need some tranny. So
look at the entire time. Look, you're at 70, 80 miles an hour right here, and by the time you're done, you're only at 115. And we had some 40-pound of boost craziness going on here.
Yeah, I don't get it.
We got something askew.
It's like, what do you think our next step would be? Like, go do another test and tuning to get more logs?
Or we'll just go to our rolling test and tune.
Yeah, I forgot we have a dyno.
Yeah. We gotta check everything.
Yeah, we need to go through it.
This log shows it's turd mode. Even though the boost is crazy and everything's going on, the mile an hour going nowhere. RPM going nowhere. Look, we're making 41 pounds of boost right here, 6,700 RPM, 83 miles an hour, and look, we only got to 93, 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, no, that ain't right.
Come on now. Hey, this is building race cars. We're gonna figure it out. It's kind of fun.
She'll go fast one day.
Makes the puzzle fun.
She's already done pretty good.
Yeah, she's done really good.
That's what I was saying. Of course, every time we go race in front of a crowd,
It's fine. Yeah, if you're shifting that early, you would, and it felt like you were laying down, which is why you would shift. That could be no VTEC for sure.
that's the same thing in the minivan. Remember, like you're shifting early, and I was like, there's nothing
and we were
left.
making 40 crazy pounds then too.
Yeah, with no VTEC.
Yeah, it was going nowhere. So it's
who
definitely
knows?
worth the check.
Well, that is going to be it for today. We just spent most of the day getting the engine tore down for the MR2. So like I said, we will have that thing back up and running hopefully soon. I did have Brent come look at the Prelude as well. We pulled up the last log just to try to see what was going on with this thing. And we're still not too sure what the issue was when we were down in Texas. We did also just pull the VTEC solenoid off to check that, but it appears to be fine. The screen and stuff inside the solenoid is clean, and we did hook up a power probe to it and make sure it clicks on and stuff. So the solenoid seems like it's fine. I think tomorrow we're gonna throw this thing on the dyno and kind of sort through it and just see what her deal is. There's also a chance that the tune could have been corrupted after Brent re-uploaded the new adjustments, because the first pass we made in the Prelude, it was spinning like crazy, but it still went through all the gears fine and still had plenty of power and felt right, you know, it felt good. It just didn't hook up. And then after he made the corrections to turn it down some, that's when it started acting all funny. It is pretty common that when you send a new tune to the ECU that it can get corrupt and the car sometimes doesn't even start again or just runs really rough. So that could be a possibility as well. So hopefully we get this thing sorted out soon so we can get her back to the track and try to go after that record, go for a personal best, and just see what this thing can do now that it's turned up. But that is going to be it for today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.